Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to a new episode of Cafe Podcast. I am your host, Kevin Davis. I am a comic creator, author, entrepreneur, a go-giver, and I occasionally get yelled at for not sleeping, but it comes with the job of being a creative. And so today's guest is two new friends of mine I just met recently that I did not know signed up for my show months ago. But please welcome to the show Mr. Aaron Cohen and Alex
Hi.
Schumacher.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, hey.
But guys, that welcome to the show, man. First of all, I saw you guys' comment that you sent me. Wow. Just
Thank
wow.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank
Second, how are you guys doing first before we get to the nitty-gritty? Like, how you guys doing? Especially going with the crazy schedule I see you guys have. I've been seeing you guys everywhere across social media.
yeah,
Yeah, we're
we're
trying.
hanging
Alex, you
on
go
to
first,
our
man.
I was just gonna say, yeah, we're hanging on to our sanity by a thin thread, I think, a slim thread. Um, this is a big part of that for us, being able to have a bit of an outlet because I mean, everybody's lives are crazy, and I think right now is significantly more difficult time for different reasons. But
Okay.
yeah, having an outlet like creating, having something that you can like lose yourself in a little bit to distract is a good thing. So, this is something
Agreed.
that's important to fit in for us, aside inside all of the craziness.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree with Alex. It's like we are so excited about this project, and we've been sort of collaborating on this. This first launched as a short, and then we spun it off into this first issue of what we hope is a series. Um,
Heck yeah.
and we're just really pushing that because we're happy with definitely the response we've gotten so far has been tremendous, and we're surprised and excited and surprised, by 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 all that. And then luckily with the
Wow.
with the way Alex and I collaborate, we're collaborators on the page, and we're also collaborators as people, as sort of trying to keep each other calm and sane and focused and everything else. And in the midst of all this, the Kickstarter, this is our very first Kickstarter for both of us, you know, having a friend and collaborator who can, you can go back and forth with on all fronts, is
Yeah.
key to kind of keeping the boat afloat.
And speaking of the Kickstarter, I'm gonna pick it up right quick. Yeah, can you guys see that?
Hey,
I'm
it's
glad
us.
you took my face down very quickly because that was terrifying. I don't think anybody
Yeah.
would.
But speaking of this Kickstarter, you guys just launched it and you're already funded. Congratulations on that, by the
Thank
way.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you.
That's
but
going back
please,
to the double surprise that, Aaron mentioned earlier. That's why he said surprise twice, 'cause there's been some of those moments that have been very mind-boggling for us,
Yeah,
mind-blowing.
that was one surprise for each of us.
Yeah, yeah, right.
man, so please tell us what is this holiday special and how did you guys come up with this idea of doing this, especially as your first like collaboration, right? As you said, like
This is our
Yeah, this
what
is
3rd.
like
actually
what's the
our
like what's the
third. Yeah.
genesis of the third? Jesus,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh
the
snap,
is the one that
nice.
you read, which is Crime and Passover. So that was initially in the Scott Snyder Presents the Cloakroom,
Fantastic
holiday.
story, by the way. I actually got through it today
Oh, cool.
Thank you.
when I got the email and I actually got to look at the email and I actually got read some of the stories you guys sent me. I can get through all of them because I just got Aaron's email
Yeah,
today, so I didn't get to all. But
there's probably a lot
the parts
between
I
the 2
got
of
to
us.
read,
Yeah.
it's truly beautiful.
Thanks, man. So, yeah,
Like
that
from
was
the
our
art, like from the art and the writing, it's chef kiss to me, man.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very kind. Yeah, so that was the first story we did, was sort of the genesis for this project.
Heck yeah, dude.
Yeah, and so the genesis for that also with that short for me was, being in the cloakroom was a holiday anthology, and I wanted to do a Jewish holiday, and I had in the back of my mind this mystery story about Passover because I liked the idea of the Seder and the Passover tables sort of being this thing where no one's paying attention and something can happen behind everybody's back, like Clue or like, an Agatha Christie story, but at Passover.
Man,
So, you know, so
wow.
I wrote that out, and then in doing so, created this family of characters that I fell in love with. And then Alex came on board and then he fell in love with, and he added to all that. So it just became this co-creation symbiosis between this story really being a love letter to our families and our culture, and
Mhm.
just also immigrant families and holidays and everyone who kind of comes together
Right.
and has to deal with the craziness of family. So once we did that, Alex and I said, we really love these characters, we really love this story, let's do something more with it. And then out of that, the holiday
Mhm.
special was born, because we both love holiday specials and thought, a holiday story highlighting 3 Jewish holidays would be very cool to put together with this family.
Wow. And this is all of Alex's art, right?
Yeah, with
Hmm.
Ralph
Uh,
is the colorist. Yeah, but
mhm.
that's the two of us together, which is the
You
visuals.
you
Yeah.
guys are badass.
Nice.
Like, wow,
Yeah, we had,
man, and
like, as soon, Aaron was talking about, as soon as he kinda, we got connected through a mutual friend. We always shout out Tony Wolf because he's the one who put us in touch, and he's a great cartoonist too, also with the Kickstarter that just launched, but that's beside the point. But as soon as I read the story, I felt very felt it was very familiar. I kind of knew characters, knew the family, knew
yeah,
what I could bring to it. So it was not a very difficult thing for me to visualize. And then of course you have somebody with Ralph's talents who just kind of take that up to another level.
and, like, I'm very naive on, like, with the Jewish holidays and everything, but I love reading about the stories I've read so far with the Jewish, culture. Because I have another friend of mine, I read he has a superhero, Jewish, called American Dream,
Yeah, yeah,
and
Daniel.
he
that's Daniel,
and
yeah.
so yeah, Daniel, and so I was like, it's very I'm like and especially learning there's barely any stories with the Jewish culture, and I was like, "Why is that?" Like, I don't get why people are so try to be distant from you guys' culture. It's a freaking beautiful culture as I've been studying it and learning it myself,
Yeah.
and, like, in learning, like, I want to learn more about this, so it's actually I was actually more excited, like, aside you guys on my schedule and, like, learning about your guys' story. It's like, "Yay, I can listen more about the culture." So I'm genuinely curious, like, what is the Jewish culture? Like, like I said, I'm very naive about it.
Yeah. And
Like,
I think,
I know a lot of it, like, it's about family, but,
yeah.
Hmm.
what is Jewish, what is the culture? Like,
Yeah.
I'm
And I think,
genuinely curious.
to speak to your point a little bit, I think there is a big divide between the sort of culture and the politics of
Mhm.
some, sects of Judaism. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
unfortunately sometimes the political overshadows, a lot of the other, brighter things about Judaism then and the inclusivity of Judaism. So, we wanted to spotlight more of the culture that celebrated those aspects more. So that was a big,
Yeah,
I think, inspiration for us. And so, then when people, like you, who may not know a lot about the culture, but maybe are interested, hopefully this is a point in this place for them, an onboarding point for them to start a conversation and start, not necessarily that it needs to be educational, but if it can, lead you down a road where you're learning something new, then that's not a bad thing when you're, reading a book.
Yeah, and then to
yeah,
me, it's
yeah, yeah,
about embedding the culture in the story, but the Jewish holidays and the culture is not the A story. The A story are these characters and the mystery and what you're doing, and the setting is Jewish. And I think
you're right.
that's what makes it universal, and what we're trying to do is make it so it's universal to other people's holiday experience. Other people can relate to family members that do these things, that act this way, or the feeling of being a kid at a holiday and not necessarily wanting to be at the table with all the kids, and wanting to be with the adults, and wanting to be respected, and wanting to be seen amidst all their cousins and brothers and sisters. That's not
Yeah,
a,
yeah,
that's not a Jewish experience. That's a human experience, right? Um,
yeah,
and when you're dealing with, a lot of families that have different cultures, you're dealing with a lot of immigrant families, you're dealing with a lot of multi-generational families and these large extended families. And
yeah.
that's really what we wanted to represent. as well as peppering in all the stuff about the setting and making that as authentic and real to Alex and my experiences,
Yeah, yeah,
as we
yeah, yeah.
have of Passover and Hanukkah and Purim, and using Yiddish, which is a very old world language that came from the generation above our parents, or like our grandparents and great grandparents. It trickles down.
Wow.
But using Yiddish instead of, say, in a Martin Scorsese movie, using Italian, right? So we're using
Yeah,
Yiddish to sort of replace, where Ben doesn't um, know exactly how to phrase it or what to say. He falls back on these words that he's heard and learned from his family. Um, so
wow.
just really trying to make a holiday relatable story that, like Alex was saying, it's not about the politics, it's about the culture, and it's about the joy and being a part of a family.
It's about creativity too. That was another thing I wanted to say. There's a long history of creativity and the arts being a pretty integral part of the Jewish culture. But that again, that's not something that's specific to Judaism. And so having Ben, one of the things that I remember being attracted to about Ben initially was he's this kid who has this vivid imagination, and he's kind of contriving of these mysteries to sort of entertain himself during these gatherings that he may or may not really want to be a part of. And he kind of
Right.
wants we're all kind of the heroes or stars of our own narratives. So that
Yeah.
that spotlighting some creativity and some you know imagination is something that I always am drawn to when it's characters who that's at the forefront of who they are.
Dude, it's stories like this that really inspires me daily because, like, in my own writing, I try to make it realistic in a way that each character can be relatable somehow. And because I'm,
Hmm.
like, especially as a as with me growing up as a kid, I come from a different, like, mixed type of cultures, and Christianity, Muslim. I think there are some Jews in my family, but I'm very distant from them because we're not that close whatsoever.
Hmm.
And I'm not gonna lie, I was very confused growing up because I don't know what to believe in or like what to follow. But as I got older, I'm just like, I'm just going to follow what makes sense to me and not try to be forced to follow what somebody else follows. But I'll be open to like learning what other people follow, of course.
Hmm.
But I'm not gonna force anything of what I believe, and vice versa. You know what I mean? And so I definitely know what you mean about the politics and the culture itself. I'm just like, 'cause I'm not a political person that gets on my nerves. That's a flat out headache to me. Like, I was like, can we just be humans? Like, for real. And speaking of art, shout out this cover that Alex did, by the way. I gotta cop that cover. I'm probably gonna cop all of them if I can.
Thanks, man.
But
Yeah, yeah. This was again,
dude,
huh?
this freaking cover, it blew my mind when I looked at the Kickstarter before we hopped on here. I was like, I gotta cop that cover, and I looked at the other ones. I was like, damn it, they make it hard. Which one I want to get? Jesus.
Yeah, yeah. There's
But
there's a couple cool covers, but yeah, this one was me and Ralph. Ralph doing the colors again on this one, but the concept I had kind of kicked around a couple ideas and then was, like Aaron and I will get each other's input on things that whatever we're sort of experimenting with at the time. And so it came, the idea was that this was kind of that Clue-esque sort of like in the library with the candlestick kind of
yeah,
vibe that
yeah,
we're putting
yeah.
out. But it's with obviously the Jewish iconography. So the three holidays are represented on the table, the Seder plate for Passover, what's called a grogger, which is just a noisemaker for
Ah,
Purim, and the menorah
okay.
for Hanukkah. And then, he's flinging a deck of cards like the little mob boss he thinks he is, and all the cards have the other relatives' faces on them. So it was just the way it came together was really fun, and I think it turned out, I think how we were all hoping it would.
And
And
you
while
said
and while
that
he's
you,
here, Alice can cover his ears. But I really feel like there's not a lot of cartoonists who I've come across better than Alex at portraying these sort of emotions and on the characters' faces, so that you know what they're thinking.
yeah,
Like this cover, every time I look at it, man, it just kills me. Ben's face. Um,
What did I
you
say?
know,
and
you,
What else was
and
like?
honest,
It's a mix
and
of
like when I
lavanda with
first, oh
Jewish guilt. Is that what I said?
yeah,
yeah,
when I first saw the cover, my mind went to like the Very Odd Parents in my head when I first saw the cover,
Sure. Yeah, I can see
and
that.
I was thinking, I'm like, is that Timmy Turner? Did he draw Timmy Turner a bit?
No, I actually didn't. I
I was like,
did not have that in mind at all. But I can see what. Yes, sort of hair is kind of similar in this shot.
yeah,
Yeah.
kind of like his mannerism kind of give off that Timmy Turner kind of vibe to
Mm.
it too.
I
And
think with this project, I turn a lot more to like the old Harvey comics, and Aaron and I
oh,
have talked about that a lot because we both love that old line. So that I think that's more of the vibe that I was trying to capture. Um, but I
heck
could
yeah.
definitely see that. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. We were looking at a bunch of old, like, Harvey books and
yeah,
covers and the way they used to,
yeah,
put those together. They're fantastic. And then Looney Tunes, and you always say Alex is a big, also a big
Oh,
impact on
I love Looney
the way we're
Tunes.
looking
Oh
at
my God.
stuff. And then
Yeah.
and the variant B cover, that Ralph, who's our colorist, actually was also the illustrator on that.
Holy
So
smokes.
so Ralph has his own variant cover that he colored and illustrated that whole cover. Yeah, which is the Akira variant, which we both love as well, because it's just, you don't.
You just usually make it
Are we
hard.
the only Jewish Akira homage variant cover? Maybe. I don't know.
maybe the world
It's
may
like
never know.
you guys seriously made it hard to choose which cover to get. Like
And that was
seriously,
kind of the
because
idea. That's why we have the combo.
it's like all of these are freaking beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Especially I'm a huge nerd. Even though I didn't grow up on comics at all, that's the crazy thing. I didn't start getting into comics until 2020 when COVID hit. And so it's like everything I grew up on, like Hellboy and like Marvel and DC, I didn't know they were a different medium before they became like live action animation and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, where the crap have I been? Have I been such under the rock that deep? I did not know these were a different thing before they came to live action animation.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
those Hellboy
2020
books, if
hit.
that was one of your first foray, those are unbelievable.
Yeah.
I
Oh
mean,
Those
those are
God, that's
those
so
knocked
freaking
me out.
beautiful.
Yeah. I
That is
came
yeah,
so
back
like
freaking
mind
beautiful.
blowingly good.
to comics. I sort of took a break and I kind of rediscovered comics in my 20s, and I call them the three Mikes that I really got into because it was Mike Allred who did Madman, it was Mike Oming who did Powers, and it was Mike Mignola who
Wow.
did Hellboy. So those three Mikes
Yeah.
kind of blew my mind and showed me some possibilities about what comics could be as opposed to what I was assuming you needed to be able to do with your art and as far as like draftsmanship and stuff goes. So
Those are three
Yeah.
great mics. And speaking of mics, the fourth great mic is Mike Kunkel,
Mike
who's
Kunkel,
who's doing our third cover, which is going to be revealed mid campaign.
who
And
was
I don't
also a big
know.
Oh
inspiration to
snap.
both of us, I think.
Yeah, and Mike Kunkel is an amazing inspiration to us as well. He's the creator behind Hero Bear and the Kid. He's, Eisner Award winning, Ignatz Award winning. He did a book called Billy Batson and Shazam for DC. Um,
Oh, I
so
know
yeah,
that book.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
him?
yeah.
Holy
yeah.
smokes.
So we're super fortunate uh, and lucky, and also surprised again, more double surprise.
More surprise. Yeah, he was
Yeah,
very and we know he's slammed right now. He's probably always slammed. But he's been very gracious, with his time for us, which is very appreciated. And like Aaron was saying, we've both been fans of his since Hero Bear came out, which was something like 20 years ago. So
yeah.
it's
That
very
is
earnest when
awesome.
we reached out to him, sort of hat in hand, asking if he and God bless him, he is.
It was like a scene from
It's
Oliver,
beautiful
wasn't it, with us?
It
interior.
was, yeah. Please,
Yeah.
sir, would you do a variant cover?
We just want the
That's like a
variant cover,
story.
please.
And this
Sorry
beautiful
to
Yeah, so
finish
we're
reading
interior
excited
right
for
this
that.
here.
up.
Any other take on your characters, is exciting to see.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
it's gonna be great. And so we're gonna release that mid campaign, and I think people will be excited for that third cover.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm loving this interior of the book so far.
thank you. Yeah,
So I'm guessing this is the holiday for the family event.
it's one
Yeah,
of
so
them.
this
So
is
the
the Passover.
three,
This is the
yeah,
Passover holiday story.
yeah.
And we
Okay.
just did the first. We just put the first 5 pages because the rest are spoilery. You know, you read the whole thing, but on the
Yeah,
Kickstarter,
I
we didn't
I
want to
I did.
spoil the.
Like,
We didn't
sorry
want to
guys, I
spoil
read the
the.
whole thing, so I know what's gonna
Yeah,
happen. But
yeah. We didn't want to spoil the turn and the reveal on the mystery of what's happening. So we did the first
yeah,
5 pages of
nah,
it.
that
But
that would be a massive spoiler.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
but
Oh my god.
it's super fun and just looking at this page too. When I gave this script page to Alex and looked at it, just the bottom of this page, I still love it when I look at it. Like the turn of Ben's
It's
head
chef kiss, man. It
from
is
groan
chef's
to
kiss.
upset.
Dude, the way you show the expression, oh, I can feel the feelings of the characters. I rarely see that in books.
Good. And
Um,
that's the thing with writers too, and Aaron is I appreciate this about him, because writers to a degree kind of have to trust that the artists that they're working with are going to be able to bring that vision to life, and like the artist, has to not betray that trust in some ways. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
having a
yeah.
team that you're both going to bring out the best in each other's contributions, and Ralph obviously being a part of that too. And and that because I can remember we're all very meticulous, which is a good thing in most ways. And so I
In
look at this
in
paint and
theory,
in theory,
yeah,
but
There.
I remember, we would go back and forth on a lot of things, and it's very small things. We'd be like, can this dialogue, or this balloon be shifted like 2 inches to the left, or can this be placed a little bit more here? But it's always felt very comfortable and natural to do that. That's it's never like become contentious or anything with us. So it's
and
but I
Yeah,
think
Alex and I sort of try to entertain each other back and forth, and that's the
yeah,
barometer, right? So if
yeah.
we can entertain each other and make each other laugh in some capacity with what we're sending back and forth, then we feel like it'll work. It'll hopefully work on
yeah,
a
yeah,
larger
yeah.
scale, and someone else
Oh
will
yeah.
also find it entertaining.
Oh yeah, that's literally how me and my artist be at times when she messages me like a page. And I was like, can you tweak it just a little bit so you can like show this angle of the character? And then she gives me like an idea of what she thinks they can like amplify the story in the art. And I'm just like, just show me what you're thinking. I'm a visual learner. Just freaking do it, and I want to see how it looks.
Yeah,
And I'm like, bro, damn, you made my writing look better than I expected.
yeah. Uh, and
Like
then you get like that
Jesus.
creator endorphin hit, where you're like, oh,
Yeah,
look at this.
yeah.
Yeah, because I
And
think
then like,
it's like
and then
when you
so you can go.
when you find the right mix, it's kind of like that Lennon McCartney thing where it's like you
Uh,
do something and then your collaborator sees what you do, or in their case, here's what you do, and it makes you want to be better, and so you go away and try to
yeah,
do something better, and then it's just back and forth like that.
exactly.
So you
Oh
just
yeah,
end up just amplifying each other, like I said, just sort of accentuating each other's positive attributes.
oh yeah, and that's why I love working with creative people. As I always tell people, the way I do like an interview thing, I want to see if we can be friends before I think about a business partnership.
Yeah.
Because if we both can have fun, then we can have fun with the project together. And plus, I want to get to know the person I'm potentially working with.
Hmm.
Because like that's why I started my publishing company because I want everyone that works with me to feel like a family. Because I am big on treating everyone with respect, and just making sure everyone feels appreciated. And like especially like hearing stories about how these corporations treat artists and stuff. And I was like, I want to make a change and have artists know that they are appreciated everywhere they are and wherever they do. And and that's why I'm like, I'm truly blessed to have a great team that knows that they are appreciated and that work with me. And the feedback they give me for reading my scripts be funny as I'll get out because I'm a big horror writer, like a big horror writing fan, and so I write horror fantasy most of the time. And so I wrote one of my upcoming comics is a zombie saga, and I sent it to
Nice.
my artist, and they messaged me back said, "Dude, are you publishing this when we're done with it?" I was like, "Yeah, I got my publishing company," and they was like, "This is the best thing they have ever read, ever in a while," and they was like, "This is like." They said they was better than The Walking Dead, like anything on the mainstream they've seen. I'm like, and you're like,
Well, now
you
now
tell
I want to
like
read it.
what?
Yeah.
I'm like that. I'm like I'm like I'm a new freaking writer, and you're telling me this is better than a Walking Freaking Dead? Like what the heck? I was like, when I'm like, dude, that is a huge freaking compliment, and that puts like more pressure on me because if I get that type of what other people are going to think about it? So he's like, you get like that back of the head, like the voice back of your head, thinking like you need to do more, like you need to do, you need to do better. And I was like, you sure it's the best? And it's like you get like the imposter syndrome thing,
Yeah.
and I was like, Jesus, I was like
Yeah,
Oh
that
no,
makes
that's
me
real.
excited, but
Yeah.
that also
No, for
is like
sure. I mean,
put more pressure on
as
me, especially I'm still a fresh writer. I've been on here like 4 years now. I was like, that's a lot of pressure.
yeah, and that never goes away. The sort of imposter syndrome
Yeah.
because I think what it I think it was Ira Glass, and I don't remember the exact quote, but he was saying the reason that artists typically hate what they do is because they have good taste. So we're always trying to reach for, maybe what inspired us or what we liked, and it's it's that whole idea of comparison is the thief of joy, but that's kind of what we're doing in our minds. So but I think if you can harness that in a healthy way, so it's not that you see what you're doing as a failing, but you just see it yourself as always having room to improve. Because as an artist,
Mhm.
if you think you're the best, that you're ever going to be at what you're going to do, if you reach that pinnacle, I don't but for myself, what would be the point of continuing to do it? Because this is just a perpetual learning experience. So
Right.
so seeing yourself, the imposter syndrome thing, for me, I think for my money, I think that's where a lot of that comes from is we know we can do better, but it's also that, our tastes continually evolve and get better, and
Yeah.
that's more of what we're seeing than that we're not meeting a certain standard.
yeah, and creativity is an evolution, right? I mean, you're not the same
Mhm.
creator you were 4 years ago. We're not
Yeah.
the same
Even
creators
a
we
year
were
ago,
2
yeah.
weeks ago. It constantly sort of shifts.
Mhm.
So I
And I'm
think,
actually feeling that shift now because 4 years ago, like
I
I
think
started my
that's the
arc,
point, you know?
yeah, like when I started my Arc Fighter series. Now I'm like 4 years later, I kind of want to revamp it more as I fleshing it out the
Yeah.
series. And I was like, I can add some more layer to this character. And I'm like, I think I could flip the script and do it this way. I was like I had like a original idea, but now as I keep going in it, I'm like, I have other ideas. Like I have other flows I want to tap into.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I know I'm like at first I was like it's gonna be like because I've always I've been like a gore horror fan for a while, but then as I kept evolving, I was like, I want to make sure the gore goes with the story because I don't want to have like a gore fest party with no story that makes sense with it. You know what I mean?
I don't
And
know if you read our second story together, but it's a comedy horror, the short. It's also in the drive I sent you. You should check it out
I
because
started reading it like I started reading an hour before we got on, so
it
I'm
seems like it would
uh
be your vibe if you like that kind of stuff.
yeah, I love horror comedy. That's literally one of my favorite things, horror comedy.
Yeah,
It's
because we did
my
that second
like when I
short
was
and it's
younger, I didn't
in
really care for it, but as I got older, it started getting to me. I was like, this is actually funny as hell. I mean, I love horror comedy,
Mhm.
yeah.
and I was like, and people like complain about comedy and horror. I was like, it actually makes it better if you do it right. If you write it correct, like write it really good, it evolves to horror.
Yeah, I love the way it kinda cuts the jump scares. You kinda have
Yeah,
this
yeah,
mix of,
exactly.
what's gonna happen, and also you're like, "Oh, no." Is it
Yeah,
gonna be a funny moment, or am I gonna wanna run out of the theater,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and I was like, even though like as a kid, my mother always tried to keep me away from horror. Of course, I still stuck around to watch horror. Of course, I got in trouble for it, but I kept doing it because that's just me.
Yeah, it's
But
huge now too.
Yeah.
yeah, and I've always been influenced like by Stephen King and by what's the other author name? Jesus Christ, the Fifth Street author, R.L. Stein. Jesus Christ, R.L. Stein.
R.L. Stein, yeah.
Yeah, and so and like in mysteries authors like James Patterson, I think is his name.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's an author.
I think it's yeah, James Patterson, and then and so my mother always tries to teach me like to get a mixture of different things, so I won't be stuck in that one thing. And because I've always grown up like always be diverse in everything because you don't want to be like a one footnote. and like you just be one thing and just run with it. And
Yeah.
so like I apply that to my writing where I'm like, even though my strong suit is horror and fantasy, I want to evolve into like writing dramas. I want to evolve to like comedies.
But
And
that's the
stories
mix. That's the mix,
like
right?
beautiful stories like you guys'
Yeah.
holiday special.
Yeah.
And I was like, I make is people like Stephen King's known as like the horror king or something like that or something. I was like, I don't want to be known as like the horror king or whatever. Like one time, like, I want to be known as a person that can storytell
Yeah.
and that
Well,
can
that's
just
Stephen King, right? Stephen King does horror, but then he did Stand By Me. He did Shawshank
yeah,
Redemption, right?
yeah.
You
And
know,
did he do Stump of the Century? Wasn't that his?
I believe so, but I'm not 100%. So someone's going to have
Uh,
to fact
well,
check me.
well, I think that was yeah. I love that movie and but yeah, like my other inspirations has been like the Wayans brothers with Scary Movie and
Yeah.
like Adam Sandler with Grown Ups with Waterboy with Click and so many different influences that influence my writing. And so I always trying to find like I get inspired by every single thing. There could be like a billboard outside I get inspired by. I can make a story out of. Like that's how my mind has
And
been like
that's the point,
developing.
I think, for any creative. You can get inspiration from
Yeah,
anywhere. You just got to be a little open to the universe. And that's not
yeah,
always as easy as it used to be these days. So you have to try to
true,
keep your
true.
antennas up a little bit.
and
Yeah, because
and
the
also
reality,
learning.
yeah.
Sorry.
No. I was just gonna say because the reality is, ideas are always basic, at the core, and they're also kind of a dime a dozen kind of thing because you could take the most simple concept and turn it into something engaging with the right execution, and you could take some sort of like highbrow, complex concept, and if you don't execute it right, it could be terrible. So the basic idea is kind of what matters. It has to be really solid in just those bones before you can make it, something that hits, something that people feel, that they want to engage with and they want to, uh, you know, take part in, spend their time with, spend their money on. So
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
it's sort of like our story. It's like you could say, well, it's a sort of all ages mystery with a family,
Hmm.
and it sounds very basic. But the way we do it, there's specificity in our culture, but there is accessibility in the way that we tell the stories, and it's the way that you
Hmm.
build that out that matters. Um, so
Agreed,
yeah,
agreed.
so you should taking inspiration from everything from a billboard to a feature film is important to leave yourself open to all of that. And
And
honestly,
speaking of film, since you brought it up, I learned that Aaron is a filmmaker himself, and I am like I said, I'm a huge nerd.
Yeah.
And I've been very excited to pick your brain about filmmaking. Like, how do you approach filmmaking and comic making? And I know that like they're two different avenues. Like, how do you balance that?
It's different. So, when, writing screenplays or scripts in that way and writing scripts for comics, I've kind of taken this turn where I really enjoy writing comic scripts a good amount more than than
Oh,
screenplays. And
interesting.
there's a lot of reason for that. Um, I think the comic medium, which I've loved my entire life and been writing towards my entire life, has gives the writer a lot of different things that writing a screenplay doesn't. It gives you the gutters where you can have action happening that you don't really see, right? You can do different times. You can have a lot happening that doesn't have to be on the page. It gives you a collaboration that's tighter than a film collaboration and a little bit more say over what you're doing creatively than you do as a writer of a film. Oftentimes, because you're part of the team a lot more than you are in film. Um, and my favorite of all things is the page turn. I mean, I love a page turn, you know, and and I write very specifically when I do comic script writing for the turn, for the reveal, right? For the setup and the payoff, right? If you're talking films, I talked about this the other day too. My favorite film and my favorite setup and payoff film is Back to the Future, right? Because Back to the Future
Yes, I
has,
love that. Sorry, I love
yeah,
Back to the Future.
because
Oh my God,
I
yes.
mean, Back to the Future, the setup and payoffs in that movie are unbelievable, you know, from the characters in the beginning to the clock tower, right? To when the lightning's going to happen, to the dance, the things the parents say. Um, so you can watch that movie and just learn, in my opinion, you can watch that movie and learn so much that you need as a writer and as a creator because there's so much there to unpack. You know, tonal shifting between comedy and sci-fi and time travel and you know,
Yeah.
so all
Oh
these
yeah.
things. Um, so yeah, I love a good page turn. So writing for film, different from comics, for many reasons, and I definitely don't do both the same way. I write comics for comics' sake because I feel like the medium deserves its own style of storytelling.
Mhm. Yeah, because I learned when I first started writing scripts. I learned when I was like researching comic scripts. I was always told it's like writing a screenplay, but you have to do it by panel, and you have to be very specific so the artist can know what you see in your head. And of course, I was confused for a while until I actually started doing it myself. and and so I was like, and so I looked at so like for example, I looked at the John Wick script as a screenplay. Then I looked at I found like a random comic strip. I don't know what the story was, but I saw a random comic strip. I was like, oh, now I see the difference.
hmm
And the dynamic of both are very different. So I really love how you, like you say, that you do not write them the same way because they are dynamically different.
Yeah,
And like when I watch like films and TV shows, I have a writer brain and I also have a fan brain. Like the first time I watch something, it's a fan brain. I'm not going to critique it or like just I'm just going in there just have some fun. And then I rewatch it and I look at it as a writer point of view. I'm saying I think they could have done better. They fleshed out the story if they went this route, and it would have paid off better. And then I'm also a big photography fan. I have my own camera, so I'm studying photography because I'm an aspiring filmmaker myself because I want to get into
nice.
film too.
hmm
And so I studied cameras and I actually wrote my first screenplay just
Good for
to
you.
get my
Yeah,
craft together
yeah,
and see
perfect.
if I can like try to challenge myself and so I would love to get your eyes on the screenplay. We could talk like later off camera about it someday. And I
For
want to get
sure.
like your thoughts about it.
Yeah, I'd love to.
And like it was just a random story that came in my head and I just wrote it out. So it's going to be a bit rough. So, but I would still love to get your thoughts
A
on
note
it.
a note that
Yeah.
really helped me with writing comics, and I think this is something when I hand it off to Alex, and then we look at it together. That's key. Is one of my mentors. Because what I wanted to really pursue stuff. I took a number of Kubert School courses as well, which was great and met a lot of community there. Ralph, our colorist, I met at Kubert, and we've been working together since. Um, but I was told
Heck
that
yeah.
when you're writing a screenplay, you're writing for a lot of different people to read it, right? You have to have executives read it and everyone, and you're writing all these details. And writing a comic script, you're really only writing it for the artist who's
Mhm.
illustrating it to read it and interpret what you're writing. And that bit of information freed me up a lot, to the point where when I know Alex and I are doing a project together like this one, I just write directly to him in the script. Like I'll just address Alex, I'll just by name. You know, I'm like, Alex, in this panel, maybe do this. you know, um, and it ends up being a script and sort of a letter at the same time. You know,
I never thought
would you
about
would you
that.
think would you agree, Alex?
Yeah, I think so. And
Huh.
you know, a nice difference between film and comics as well when you're writing it is your budget is a hell of a lot lower. So the only budget is dependent on what your artist can do and can convey, right? Because
Yeah.
as long as they can make that happen, then that's your budget. So, you know, with Aaron and
Yeah,
I, we've
yeah.
worked together a few times now and we sort of have those things in our back pocket at all times. So, you know, the communication, you know, rarely happens on the page, as it were, because a lot of it is just like shooting ideas back and forth. But and so by the time we're like getting to the page, there'll be revisions and stuff as we go. But I think most of
Yeah.
the time we get to the page to actually like put down the final version, we have a pretty good idea of how that's going to go, and that's something that we've just like continuously workshopped to kind of mold it to the point that it needed to be, or we think it needed to be. But yeah, it's definitely like you know, passing notes in class to each other to, you know, the version of that for sure.
It was like it's almost like a study buddy in a way, basically.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
And
sure.
one that you've like developed that shorthand with. So like you say, a word or two, and they know you're referencing some joke, and you're both laughing at it. And when you work with somebody, a few times or enough times, and Aaron and Ralph and I click pretty quickly. So we're kind of at that point now that that kind of communication is very easy to do. There's not a lot of explanation necessary, I guess.
Yeah,
Right.
for
That
instance,
makes sense. Yeah.
even with the coloring too, when we talked to Ralph, if you recall early on,
Yeah.
Alex, the kind of the notes and the feedback we were doing was we wanted to look like, someone's house, but also the back room of an Italian restaurant where you'd have a gathering of a family.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
the guy thinks he's like Ben is kind of very detective, very mafia oriented in terms of how he thinks and tries to put himself in this position of a little Bugsy Siegel. So that
That's
was the
Bugsy Siegel
coloring.
80s.
That was like the only coloring thing that we really talked about. And then he
Yeah.
ran with it and then
Yeah.
created this color palette that you see now, which just is that color palette.
And like pitch perfect too. For being the one to being like the one goy on our team, like you got it.
Yeah.
It was right in there.
He's getting an
Yeah.
honorary card.
He is, yeah.
And like in speaking of like production, like movies, is there like a certain person or like movies that inspired your writing style and your art style, that culminated for you guys together to work together? If that makes sense. Ooh, how I phrase that question.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we're both fans of film. I think most creative people are fans of film to some degree. Aaron has a much larger knowledge than I do, but some of the movies that definitely influenced me were as a kid, you start with like your Disney, but then there's the Don Bluth movies, which I loved. That the stuff like Secret of Nim and All Dogs Go to Heaven. There were the like
Fantastic
what,
movies, by the way.
huh?
Fantastic movies, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah, great movies. So
Uh,
for really tragic, we watched some really kind of traumatic
mm,
movies as
yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
Some of those early
Uh,
animated movies are just horrifying as you just
yeah.
It really is. It really is.
They didn't mind scaring us in the 80s, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So stuff like that. Aaron and I have talked about, a lot of the speaking of like Looney Tunes and those kind of Peanuts and those kind of properties, they always had like the holiday specials that were on. So Aaron and I had those in mind, which kind of, for this project specifically, but I think we both loved those independently long before that. Um, for art wise, it's a lot of those movies, but then you find things like perspective shots and different ways to capture emotion with through a camera as opposed to using the words. That's a lot of what you get from film too. But then yeah, a
True.
lot of
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
like comics and the comic strip specifically, we're both very into, we're longtime fans of like newspaper comic strips. So that's a lot of I think, what we always have in the back of our heads alongside things like Harvey books and stuff. But yeah, I think I just rattled off a bunch. So why don't you give a few, Aaron?
no. It's it's funny because it's almost like the more we talked about it, the more we're like, wow, has Harvey Comics played this big of a role in both of our psyches?
You know,
Like it kind of came to
kind
us
of
like
full
while we're
circle
working on stuff.
surprise.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, hot stuff was a little devil. Um, it's just right there.
Yeah.
Um, so for me, it's from a film point of view for comics. So I'm a big fan of the, early Spielberg, Chris Columbus stuff, when you're looking at things like like you're looking at family entertainment, right? You're looking at Goonies, you're looking at E.T., you're looking at,
E.T.
you, you know,
Yeah.
you're
Adventure
looking at Close
movies.
Encounters, you know, you're looking
Ah.
at movies that are sort of firing off on multiple levels of understanding. You got the something
Yeah.
for the younger generation, the middle generation, the older generation, and I feel like if you can do something that is specific, and I've said this, with Alex a lot, we say he also says, the more specific you are on your experience, the more universal it can be for everybody else. And I think the idea of trying to make something that's family related and using those sort of predecessors like the Back to the Futures in those movies. Um, to have comedy, have drama, have emotion, um, is fun and relatable. So I pull from a lot of that. And then animation wise, I mean, holiday specials, like Alex said, the Looney Tunes stuff, like Alex said. Um, I was, the Akira cover, I was big into that as well, and still am. Um, we at our household we just got a Crunchyroll subscription, and now that's a whole new thing to dive into. Um,
Yeah,
but it's like,
Crunchyroll is a beast. That's actually really
yeah,
fun.
you
Yeah.
do. If you got that, send me some recommendations. Because we're diving in. Um,
All right.
but I really enjoy all those influences is
I'm gonna
on
see the
that.
ones I've seen so far. It's not a
All
long
right,
list
all
yet,
right.
but I've seen so far.
So I
Because
saw
I
your
Um,
face. I saw your face too when Aaron said that the more specific you are, the more universal it is. You kind of had a quizzical look on your face because it sounds counterintuitive. But here's the thing: we all like to think we're these like special little snowflakes that only have these certain things happen to us. We're not. That's why
yeah.
it's why things like you know hating people for where they come from or what language they speak. It's so ridiculous because on the most cellular level we're all like kind of the same people. We're definitely the same species, right? Like there's
Yeah.
and there are but the thing that Aaron and I is important to us as it is to a lot of different communities, representing our culture is important and it should be. That's something that we can all share with each other, right? And like find relatability there too. But yeah, the idea that we often tend to think of ourselves again in the starring role of the movie of our lives. So it's like this has only happened to me, but no, if you get really down to the nitty gritty, those are things that's happened to everybody, or at least a
yeah,
large amount of people.
yeah. So for instance, a lot of the book is about Ben's quest for a place within the family, right?
Yep.
Where do I
Yeah.
fit
Who was
within
that?
my family?
I think
Right.
that's why I also love your book more because that's kind of how I felt for a while growing up. Is because I was trying to find where I fit in.
Yeah, it's a very human
And
emotion.
so thank you for that book, by the way. You made me cry a bit because that felt like me for a second.
That's
But
awesome.
it was happy tears because I felt seen, even though it was like it's a different culture, but I still felt seen.
Yeah.
Because I've always been a kid. As a kid, I've always been where I was like, where do I fit in anywhere? And I'm like, do I fit in here? Do I fit in here? Do I fit anywhere? And it's like reading you guys' story, I'm just like, how did they po potentially know my life, knowing how I felt growing up? I just met these guys, you know what I mean? It's like stories like that really grabs my attention and it really just gets me every single time. And that's like how I try to approach with my stories, because and I get inspired. I got inspired by you guys' story because I wanted to inspire others too.
Hmm.
And and I think that's also what's missing in like when we talk since we talk about movies. I think that's what's also missing a lot in like a lot of modern day movies and TV shows. It's like the characters aren't really relatable, and so it's like, and I see like people say the theaters are dying because of this and that. I'm just like, no, it's not. It's just they're not relating to people anymore like they're
Hmm.
used to. And like, the prices get crazy, and I'm like, this economy is crazy. And I'm just like, if my people will go to the movies if you give them a reason to go. you know? And like,
Hmm.
I will admit, last year was the first time I went to the movies pretty much every month or every other month in a while because they actually brought movies out I kind of related to and I wanted to see. And that was actually refreshing because I could take my brain off some stuff, like from working for a bit. And so like, and then I hear like with the comics too, I'm just like the DC comics and Marvel comics, I'm like, people are talking about that, uh, I don't, they were like repeating the story cycles or something. I don't know what the phrase they said. And I hear like they took out something important in Spider-Man, why Spider-Man's following because it's like what MJ out, like they divorced him or something. I'm not really sure. I haven't followed it in a while.
I don't know either.
Uh, Yeah, and I was like, this is interesting how everything's evolving around you. I was like, I feel like Indy is the new Hollywood because in Indy you get the more originality and more creativity than the ones that's in Hollywood.
It is pretty
And it's
incredible
like,
what's coming out in indie books right now. I mean, outside of
yeah,
what we're
I
doing, what
agree.
I'm seeing, what I'm reading, I mean, it is inspiring
Uh,
to see that all of these different stories are able to be told. and
Agreed.
and told well, and told like the creators are hoping they are, without a lot of
Yeah.
outside influence in terms of changing what
Yeah.
they're trying to say.
Yeah.
So I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's a very cool time for that.
Yeah, we go back
Oh
to,
yeah.
you as opposed to like trying to make a film, even though that's a little bit easier now with phones and stuff, people are doing that. But with comics in particular, like there's nothing really holding you back from making comics. It does, pay your artists and stuff like that. But even that sum is pretty nominal when compared to something like, a budget for filmmaking.
Mm.
So, when people ask us like, how do we get into making comics? It's you make comics. That's the answer. You make comics. Now,
Pretty much.
and if the question is how do you make a living on comics, that's a different conversation. But
Yeah.
if you want
That
to
part.
start making
Yeah.
comics, if you want to be a comics creator, you can do that today. There's like nothing stopping anybody from doing that. And that's I think something that's important to note because sometimes the arts can come off as these sort of elitist endeavors for people who were, you know, touched by the hand of God and like given these talents. Like but that's
Yeah. Yeah.
also reductive to the amount of work we've all done to get to that place. So it's really not an elitist thing at all. Anybody can do it, and I encourage people to do it because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and
Same.
not
I'm
and
like,
also with creating anything. I feel like
Doing
in this
anything,
day and
yeah, yeah,
age,
yeah.
yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
in this day and age, there's so much going on and there's so much negativity that as a writer and as an artist on Alex's end, like I feel like putting anything out of yourself into the world is feels good. It feels like you're doing something, at least putting a piece of yourself, out there in some capacity. So whether it's a comic or a story or a drawing or you're whittling something out of wood and you're making a table or like, whatever your thing is that you want to create, whether you're making a meal that you really
Exactly.
like,
Yeah.
no, you're sharing a part of yourself. Um, and I
Mhm.
think that's healing, in a way, and it helps keep everybody, keeps their mind sort of focused on something positive.
yeah. And
And
because
I actually. Oh,
you could
sorry.
scream into the void, and I think and I think that's warranted right now. But I think for Aaron and me, it's like we feel there are enough people doing that and doing it, in a more convincing, more informed way that we could or want to. So we're trying to be the other part of that, which is providing the balance that's bringing some joy and some positivity and maybe some connection, into the world. And I think
Yeah.
both of those are equally as important right now, because I think a lot of people are questioning,
Yes.
like, why are we
Yes.
still doing this right now? It's a horrible time. It is, but like that's precisely why we should keep doing this and we need to keep doing this.
Yes. Exactly. And I love how you brought up the healing part. That's actually what I got into podcasting because podcasting kind of healed a part of me. Because I started podcasting officially 2 years ago, like being a guest on other people's shows. And then when I started doing that, the question popped in my head. I was like, what if I did my own? And of course, I was yeah, I'm like, can I hold a conversation? And then like that self doubt started creeping. I'm like, how can I? I mean, I can talk, like be a guest, but how can I start a conversation and hold it? You know what I mean? So I had that self doubt for a while, and then the more I got on other podcasts, it kind of just started easing off, but not completely off. Because I was like, okay, because I kept thinking about it. I kept thinking about. It. I was like, okay, I won't know if I can do it if I don't do it. So I was like, I got to the point, like, I need to know if I can do it. The only way to do it is to do it. It's just jump into it.
Right.
And so I started my own in August of 2025, and now I'm still here, and I am enjoying it.
That's the
Yeah.
and
important part.
it's so much fun. And when you brought about the creating something, just bringing the healing, I was hesitant doing comics because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I didn't know what the heck comics was, but I started doing it, and I love it. I can't stop doing it. I'm also writing novels. I'm also writing magazines. So it's like I'm getting in other creative avenues that because I want to try to reach as many as I can somewhere
Hmm.
because I want to be an inspiration. I want to inspire others to just be themselves and just do not be afraid to get out your comfort zone because it's when you get out your comfort zone, that's where you truly find yourself, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
And and I grew up in I'm not sure I grew up in a family of business, so I have that in my blood without knowing I had that in my blood. And my mother's also a writer, so I have that in my blood. And it's like that gift that started storing in me once I started getting out my comfort zone and pushing through it. And so, and like, and hearing people's stories, like, it continues to really inspire me. Like hearing the feedback, how people tell me, say they've been watching me, and I'm just like, you're watching me? I was like, and when I heard that, I was like, okay, my stuff is reaching somebody, even if I don't know it. So hearing that, I was like, okay, I'm going to continue what I'm doing because clearly I'm doing something right.
And the thing is, if it's 5 people or it's 5 million people, it doesn't matter.
hmm Exactly, exactly. And I'm always like, I'm in a mindset. I'm like, even if it's just touches one person, that makes my entire day.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not trying to be like this influencer person. I try to get like 10,000 followers or whatever. And I was like,
I
no,
am.
Yeah.
I'm just me.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I'm just me. And it's like my audience will come along as I continue to just be me. I'm like, 'cause social media has been fake since it began, pretty much. And
You
I
know,
was
you
like, I don't want to be that person that's just. I'm like, I'm always about being real and raw and just being open of who I am. And I feel like that's what we need more now today because it's been, like you said, it's been too much negativity, like too much fakeness. And I was like, we need to make a change. And I want to be like that brother, like that friend that you might not know, but you might need. And so that's always my inspiration every single day. And hearing you guys' stories inspire me right now. And like, it's so freaking cool. And it's actually also great to meet you guys finally.
Yeah,
yeah,
likewise.
same here.
And dude, first I gotta say, keep doing what you're doing. Um, Alex, your art is freaking phenomenal. I hope we work together someday because I would love to get your art on some of my stories because I plan to do like some cartoonish art on some stories I want,
That's what I do.
and and then I would love to get your wisdom on filmmaking, Mr. Aaron.
Yeah. Hit me up.
As I am studying film, like how that works, and see how different it is from comics, and like since you're on both ends, I can talk to you about both. So,
That'd be
um,
a pretty good mentor, I gotta tell you.
yeah, I can tell about the conversation you just had, and I'm excited to talk to you one on one when we're not busy as much.
Yeah, when we're not
um,
when we're not pushing, but yeah, I
yeah,
think that's a constant state. So we'll just work in between.
Be
yeah,
a
like
mentor for
we'll
me.
wriggle in there somewhere. So
That's how you got to
we'll
do it. There's no other way to do it.
Oh
You
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
We'll find a crack in the end of the tunnel somewhere. I'm like, hey Aaron,
Yeah.
can we talk for a minute? Like even if this is 5 minutes, we have a great
Yeah.
conversation. Thank you, but I'll talk to you next month or something.
I do a lot of
Oh,
calls in the car. Alex will attest to it.
hey, hey, that works.
And they're always productive. He's very good at driving well and listening and paying attention on the phone, I'll tell you. Because I'm not.
Man.
I'm not, so it always surprises me when people are.
Oh yeah,
Especially don't be
man.
talking to
But
me while I'm parking, man. There's no way I'm being able to handle both of those things.
It's a danger. You have to pay. If you do, you have to
it's
pay half the ticket.
That's right.
oh my God.
Yeah.
But their holiday story is on Kickstarter right now, guys. Whoever's watching, it's and the link is in the description of this video. But
Dixon
before
Stones on Kickstarter.
Yeah, we got some great stretch goals coming up too. So keep an eye on
teaser,
hitting
guys,
those
teaser.
hitting those stretch goal marks. Bookmarks already got unleashed, and we got a
Oh, yes,
holofoil on
yo.
deck. We got holofoil covers. We got playing cards. We got art prints.
So much good stuff.
So let's go. Yeah.
Let's
Heck yeah.
go.
Link in the description of this video, guys. Before we hop off, I also got inspired to do this thing. I keep forgetting sometimes on an episode, but a wrestling podcaster does this where he asks the guests, "What's like your top things that you're very thankful for?" Because I'm always about Thanksgiving and like being grateful and not taking anything for granted. So, what's like you guys' three top things that you're very thankful for?
All right. Sure. Who wants to go first so we could just not repeat each other's things? Because if whoever says it first, the other one's going to go, but I also said family.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're
Well,
both.
I'll go first since I
I think
asked
we're
it.
both going to say
Yeah.
that for sure.
Well, me is being creative. Um, I'm breathing and family. So,
All right.
Johnny,
I'll go with family for sure. Always thankful for my family. And I think that comes across in the fact that we're doing family stuff right now where we're just focused on that and we're thankful for what's interesting is being thankful for the things that you didn't know you were thankful for when you were younger. Like some of those meals and
Mm,
some of those dinners, like, I don't want to be
Those
here. And now you
relatives.
look back and you go, I'm so
I
thankful
never
that I had
thought,
that experience, and that experience
man.
shaped who I am. So I'm
Yeah,
thankful for my family. I'm thankful for not to pander to a group, but I'm thankful for the comics community with this experience I'm currently having. If we're talking about right now, I feel
heck
like
yeah.
as a newbie, I'm still a pretty new coming into all these things. I feel like it's been an incredible experience with talking to people and meeting people and people that are open and people that are honest. And it's been a good experience in that regard, and it's really created sort of a feeling that I didn't know was currently in the world right now. It's like so that's been really
Oh
positive.
yeah,
Um, and I'm thankful for the health and wellness of all my loved ones and people who are going through something, which are some of my loved ones are going through some health stuff right now, and just pushing through and keeping the faith, and everyone working forward. All you can do is move forward.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, it's family, of course, first. My wife and son being near the top of that. My handful of good friends I have, this guy being one of them, I suppose. Def Definitely this guy. Good friends who, like, you can count on and you can talk to, and, I find that to be more of a rarity as we get older, so I'm definitely thankful for people like Aaron and the other handful of close friends I have, and number 3 is everybody's health for those that are still with us. We've lost some people, I've lost some people recently, so the health of everybody that's still with us in those categories is probably number 3, but I swear the comics community is, like, number 4. Much love to you guys too.
That's right. We're gonna count ours double. We'll just go back
Yeah,
and
right.
be fine.
There we go. There we go.
We're the
And
we're the
where
plus ones.
Yeah, yeah.
exactly, yeah. Where can we find you guys on social media so we keep up to date with you guys' projects?
Do you wanna go reverse order and I'll go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Sure.
I'm
Yeah,
on,
you go first.
Instagram and Blue Sky at AJ Schumacher Art. I'm on Facebook. You can find me under my name. My personal website is alexschumacherart, all one word, .com. And
Link in
of
the
course,
link in the bio, but I mean link in the description of the video, by the way.
awesome. Thank you. And then, of course, Aaron and I are both on the Sticks and Stones Kickstarter.
Also link in the description of the video. I
Yeah,
want to make sure I express
awesome.
that link in the description of the video, guys.
Yeah,
Noise.
go find it. Yeah, so I'm on Instagram. I'm 3 weeks old on Instagram. I've only been on there for less than a month because I was on everything else and not Instagram, and Alex was
Wow.
busting me enough that he actually got me to do it. So find me on
Nice.
Instagram. I'm figuring it out as I go along. I'm at Aaron Cohen Writes on Instagram. I'm on Blue Sky at the A Cohen. I'm also on Facebook. You could find me there, and at the Sticks and Stones website. And I'm starting to put together more of a Substack kind of thing, and that'll hopefully be coming in the next month or so. With the newsletter
Oh,
and stuff like that. But it's all in progress, man.
man. And you can find me at I am Kevin Davis Official on Instagram. I am Kevin Davis CEO on Facebook and TikTok if you have it. And my website at kevysie.com. And you can find my podcast, Kevysie Fate, on my YouTube, at my Kevysie YouTube, and on Spotify and wherever else you watch or listen to podcasts. And so, first of all, thank you guys for coming on. It's been an honor to get to pick you guys' brains.
Been a pleasure.
um, Thank you for
Yeah,
allowing
thanks a
me to
lot.
read you guys this beautiful story. And I need to get that physical book. And we all do. Go cop this beautiful book. You would not be disappointed. If you don't, you suck. But
That's a new that's the new tagline. That's the new tagline. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
but we guys, and everything, all the links we just said will be in the description of this video, guys. So go cop the book. If you don't, like I said, you suck. But we'll see you guys next time here on the Kevysie Fate. Later.
Thanks, everybody.